Okay, today we have it's a walk-in cooler, beer cooler. It's got a low volume air coil inside of it, and it's icing up is the problem. And I came here, I thought possibly that it was low on gas, but I checked the gas and it looks pretty good. You can see right there. So far. My liquid line is lukewarm, it's coolish. There's two head pressure fan controls on this, and my head pressure was running low. My head pressure was around 177, and I set my two fan controls so the fans would cycle off, and I raised my head pressure up to 215. My ambient today is 46 degrees here. The coil's icing up inside, and if we look at something here, my saturated temperature, evaporator temperature, my suction pressure is 29, head pressure is 208. This is 404A. Now the head pressure, it would be good if it was higher than that. 240, 250, 260, but it's a cold day, so it's understandable. I'm not getting a good pressure drop across the expansion valve because of the low head pressure, so that's why I raised the head pressure up a bit. My suction pressure is a bit on the low side here, which means that I'm not getting enough refrigerant coming back from the evaporator. And here's my saturated temperature. My evaporator temperature is -1, and this is a walk-in cooler. It should be 20 to 24 in that range there. So it's showing me that my expansion valve is closed off too much, and I have to open it up. And what's happening is it's not feeding the evaporator coil 100% all the way across. It's feeding like the first half of it, and the other half is starving, and it's just running all the time, and it's icing up so the whole thing ices up. So I have to go inside now and adjust the expansion valve. Okay, this is my evaporator coil. Somebody spray foamed this roof. It's kind of a mess. Got the coil partially in it, but it's been like that for a long time. This is an old evaporator coil. It's a low volume air coil, which I wouldn't put that in here. I'm going to talk to him about changing this to a different one. My expansion valve is externally mounted, which was nice for me. There it is up here. And if you look at the body of the valve, let's see, you can see frost building up on the body like that. Now that's usually a sign that the valve is closed off too much, and it's metering, not flowing enough refrigerant through it. If it was frost all the way back to the liquid flare nut there, then there would be a restriction in the strainer, but that's not frosted up. And I did knock ice off the valve to get the cap open. So what I'm doing is I'm measuring the inlet right there, my probe, and I'm measuring my outlet right there. That's right after there's the sensor bulb, expansion valve sensor bulb is right here. So this is my outlet, and it's my inlet, and I'm getting my T1 minus T2. I'm getting 20 degrees, and on something like this I should have, well, on this coil I should have 10. I'd like to have 15 because it's a beer cooler, but this coil is a low volume air coil, and it's not, it's made, this type of coil, evaporator coil, is made for like a meat cooler to keep so you can see your breath. It's the wrong coil for this, because what will happen is when you see your breath, all this cardboard gets wet, and and usually have a wet, damp cardboard smell in here. And you want a higher TD, like a 15 degree. Okay, I gotta adjust this valve now. Clockwise increases it, counterclockwise decreases it. I want to decrease it. I want to open the valve up, so I gotta go counterclockwise. And I'm at 21 degrees right now, 20, 21. Now let's, I did it. It's starting to drop. It's down to 19. Gotta wait a couple of minutes. Well, what I'm doing is opening the valve up literally and letting more refrigerant flow through it. It's got a little ways to go. But at a 1 degree evaporator, it's going to ice up like crazy. And that's what was happening. I brought my torch in here and had to defrost the ice off of it. It's been icing up pretty bad. And then when the evaporator fins get iced up, air doesn't move through them, and you can't transfer heat from the air in the box into the through the fins into the copper tubing into the freon. That'd be taken away. I'm down to 15 now. Now that would be good for keeping us fairly dry, but I don't know if that's gonna bring my evaporator temperature up because this is a low volume air coil. So I may have to go down to like 11 or 12. I have to go out and check the evaporator temperatures, see if I'm getting more refrigerant coming through. Now right now what I'm doing is I'm feeling my liquid line, and my liquid line, it was cold before. I want it lukewarm actually is what I want, and that's what I'm getting right now is lukewarm. That's telling me that the condenser fans are cycling on and off and raising the head pressure up enough to give me a good pressure drop across this expansion valve. So I can see my breath pretty good, and that's good to keep meats from drying out, or produce from drying out. That's what you want on a meat cooler. But you don't want that in a beer cooler or soda cooler. Usually, if it was a humid day, you'd have condensation all over the cans, and that's you end up with wet cardboard boxes, and that's not ideal. 14 is much better than 20, but still. Now that I'm opening up the expansion valve and letting more refrigerant flow through the system, it may be showing that I need a little bit of refrigerant. This valve may have been closed off so much it was backing refrigerant up to the sight glass into the receiver tank. Now that I'm opening it up, I'm flowing more refrigerant through the valve, and the sight glass might start showing some bubbles. I'm going to open it up a little bit more, and then I'm going to go outside and check. I want to get my evaporator up, my saturated temperature up as high as into the 20s if I can. I may not be able to. This coil just might be too low volume. Now 13 would be, I'm pretty happy with 12 or 13. What this is telling me is that I'm flowing more refrigerant through this coil now. This Fluke meter is a good meter. It's a Fluke 52.2. It's got two thermometers on it. And I'm in my T1 minus T2 mode, so I'm measuring the delta T across the inlet to the outlet of the evaporator coil. Okay, after all that adjustment, I got a whole got it up to 2 degrees, my evaporator. I'm just not moving enough air through that evaporator. I raised my suction pressure up a little bit. So I'm going to have to literally open that valve up till I get to 10. So my fans are cycling off. I'm maintaining I checked my sight glass and it still shows full. So I'm going to open up that valve some more. Okay, I still have 13.5 degrees difference. I'm going to go more. Cold in here. Okay, I'm down to 10, almost 11. You can see that. The expansion valve body is still half frosted. Looks like not quite as much as it was. I'm going to have to go down to 10 on this thing. Now we're down at 9.8, 9.7. You want to get by?
Sorry.
It's okay.
Thank you.
You heard me talk, and I'm making a video for YouTube. I'm not talking to myself.
I talk to myself.
Oh, do you? I don't talk to myself at all. Much. Look, I don't want to go any lower than 9.8, really. I have to go, I'd like to leave it around here. Very humid in here. I don't know if you can see this. Somebody wired this. They ran just wires through the ceiling. I mean, it's pretty pathetic. It's what fire waiting to happen. Oh, I think they. This is 110 volts line. Okay. My TD inlet and outlet is 9.3, and I'm not going to go any lower than that. So let's go outside and check what our progress looks like outside. Got a whole 4.4 out of that. See, that evaporator coil is just wrong for this cooler. My saturated my saturated temperature is way too low. It's only 3. That's pretty pathetic. Far cry from 20. We're just not taking enough heat into the box, into the evaporator coil. My suction pressure is low. Head pressure is up pretty good. I'm getting a good pressure drop across the expansion valve. Nice amount of heat coming out of there. That feels good. But the way it's set up, it's working, but not ideally. And sometimes what's that saying about putting whipped cream on a turd? It's still a turd. The unit's fine, you know. Compressor's not getting much work actually. It's having an easy time. Low suction pressure. Well, my evaporator coil is just icing up, and there's not too much I can do about that. And I got more refrigerant flowing through the line. My suction line is cooler than it was before. What's nice to see here is this has not only the receiver tank, but it has a suction accumulator on it. The suction line comes in and goes into the suction accumulator and comes off and goes into the compressor. I'm happy to see that. The problem with suction accumulators is they rust. I see that a lot. I've had them rust out pretty good over the years. Had to change them because you get a good leak on it. AC&R, Air Conditioning Research, I think, the Bulldog. I think that's the brand of that one. But my head pressure's good. Well, I got the evaporator, the saturated temperature up to almost meat cooler range. It's not good, but it's the best I'm going to get out of it. Sometimes you just have to go with it. I'd like to have a high,
45, 50 degree suction pressure on 404, but I'm not going to get it. I'm lucky to get 36, 37. Of course, it's a cool day, but the hot weather might function a little bit differently, but that's
that's all I'm going to get out of this thing, guys. Later.